With earnings reports in Nigeria in full focus, we had Starcomms over in the country report first half results for the 9 months to the end of September 2009 yesterday. And one of the standout figures has been the fact that the company has been able to grow its subscriber base to close on 2.5 million in the third quarter. That representing a 60% year-to-date growth against what was recorded in the same period last year. Despite that phenomenal jump, though, revenue grew a more modest 5%. With PAT still in negative territory. So why isn't growth on the one hand translating directly to growth on the other? Joining us now live from our studios in Nigeria so we can get into this and more is Starcomms CEO Maher Qubain. Thanks so much, Maher, for joining us this morning. Well, ARPU levels is still in the tough operating climate, has always been one of the concerns, and not just for Starcomms operating in Nigeria. It's a concern amongst most telecom players regionally. You've got to be disappointed that growth in your base is not translating directly to the bottom line here.
Well, first of all, thank you for having us on the show again. It's a pleasure to be with all of you. Let me just clarify a couple of points. The actual growth in the subscriber base of 60% period over period did translate from a revenue point of view, including hardware sales of 5% growth, but the actual net revenues from a service point of view was actually 14%, which then translated down to a profit from the last period of a minus 2.4 billion. We actually translated into a positive profit of 600 billion. That's a 3.03 billion naira improvement in terms of period to period. And what's more interesting is that the EBITDA itself grew by 305% to 6.73 billion, and the EBITDA margin improved to 26%. So we are delighted with the results, whilst we believe there could have been a lot more improvements from a revenue point of view. But the fact that there is pressure on the liquidity of the consumer, and that there is in fact pressure by the banking reforms on the liquidity of the distribution channels. Therefore, we did see overall from all operators a reduction in minutes of use, which probably put a bit of pressure on the amount of revenue growth, but we are delighted with the 14% service revenue growth that we've seen.
Let's look at some of the strides you are making in order to recover some of this revenue growth moving forward. I mean, the company's been putting strategies in place to increase subscriber spending, and mentions being made of doing this through mobile entertainment. I mean, what kind of revenues are you forecasting as a result of the new strategies that are being implemented?
Very good question. Let me also just re-emphasize, last time we mentioned, we are today probably one of the only true triple play providers in Nigeria where we have three separate segments of the business. The fixed wireless segment, which we control 64% of the market share. We also control the largest market share on the broadband data sector with 150,000 data subscribers. From a revenue point of view, my data subscribers contribute to 22% as an overall contribution to the overall percent of revenues, and we participate very aggressively in the mobile sector. So the beauty behind our strategy and our business model is that we are aggregating our ARPUs and our revenue streams from three separate business units, which in fact has reduced the slope of decline that other operators across the world has seen from an ARPU and a minutes of use point of view. So the forecast for growth for Starcomms is going to be continuing by leveraging our strength in the broadband data segment. ICT penetration in Nigeria, last time we spoke early this year, was about 2%. Today it's a little bit under 5%. So there's tremendous opportunity in the ICT sector, which Starcomms participates quite aggressively in and has a leadership position, and in one of the main innovators from a data point of view. On the mobility point of view, as you might have heard, we recently launched a lot of social networking value-added services which create stickiness and enhances revenues, such as Twitter and Facebook and High5 using SMS, and that's the first of its kind in the country, whereby you can update your Facebook profile using the Starcomms system by SMS purely. Yeah. So we're using the continued triple play strategy and anchoring it with social and value-added services that are relevant to people to establish a competitive position that nobody can compete with, not just by pricing and products, by rebuilding customer relationships and building value-added service streams to augment the revenue streams and create stickiness.
Let's take a look at some of the challenges you face, though, on this road ahead. First, your interest rate charges rose in the third quarter, while that's still unrealized forex losses as a result of the drop that we've, of course, seen in the Naira. That's contributed to your overall loss here. So how are you managing those challenges?
As we mentioned during the Q2 discussion, we had dollar-denominated loans, which we committed to converting a third of them into Naira, and that's why you see in our Q3 results, interest charges has risen slightly as compared to Q2, because we converted $60 million facility that was a dollar-denominated loan into a Naira-denominated loan to reduce the exposure of foreign exchange. That's the point that's quite important. The second piece that's quite important for people to understand that the forex exposure is unrealized losses. Should the Naira value better than the dollar, we actually would be net beneficiaries. And the last point that's also important is that the dollar-denominated loans we carry are long tenure, 3 to 5 year denomination loans with 1 year moratorium and quarterly payments. So these losses that we disclose by being a very transparent company, because we're publicly listed, are unrealized losses. They're not truly impacting the engine performance of a business. Yeah. And that's seen by the above the line when you see the profit gone from a minus 2.4 billion last year period to today it's 600 million plus. So the variance was a positive 3.03 billion Naira on the profit side, which helps people understand that the fundamental performance of the Starcomms business is very, very strong. The brand is very strong, and the fact that most of our dollar-denominated loans are